50 pounds of tomatoes. Let's get these things canned. Hello folks, welcome back to the Rockin' Sea Homestead. My name is Lance. I want to welcome you to our channel. So the wife and I, we purchased 50 pounds of tomatoes from a local farmer, and we're going to process them. We've decided to do some diced tomatoes and some tomato sauce. That's what we use the most of throughout the year. So that's what we're trying to put up, and we didn't quite have enough with our tomatoes. We grow a lot of tomatoes, but they're all little tiny ones, and they're not very large. So we got some larger tomatoes, and we're in the process of getting them cored and split. Then we're going to put them in the pot of hot water to blanch them. All right, so the first thing we've got to do is we've got to core these, and then we're splitting the bottom. So all I'm doing, if there's any bad spots like this has split on the top, I'm just kind of cutting around it. And just taking that out. Then I'm just doing that if there's any spots on the bottom or whatever that needs to be coming out. Just take them out. Put them in there and just do the same process over and over until we have the rest of these. We're almost finished. Then we'll start blanching these, and then we'll have to peel the skins, and then we'll get them diced up and ready for the next process. So we got them all cut. Now we need to blanch them. So all that blanching does, you just put them in hot water for maybe 30 seconds or so, and then you dump them into a pot of ice water, and then that kind of shocks them, and those skins really do come off pretty easy at that point. So I just use a little ladle and just kind of float them in there. Excuse the dogs. I'm just going to do a few here just for demonstration purposes. And we just kind of let it wait. And I've got one pulled out here, and you can tell the skins are just coming off already. So I'll just put that in the ice water. And at this point, it's just a process, back and forth, hot water, cold water, and then put them in another bowl, and then we'll get them diced up and ready for the next process. While we're still processing, I figured I'd show you guys how easy it is to peel the skins off of these things. So once you get them off, or once you get them, really, you just start picking at an edge, and then the skins come off, and the tomato's ready to go. Some of these are just falling off very, very easily. And if they've already been cored, it's super easy, and now you're just ready to just dice them, or however you're going to process them after this. If you're going to make sauce with them, you're going to dice them, you're going to put them in a jar by themselves and have whole tomatoes. I mean, it's whatever you want to do at that point. Or you can even freeze them for later if you have, you know, at this point, if you're going to make sauce with them or any of that kind of stuff. So, and you just an ongoing process. We are dicing and dicing and dicing some more. $50 pounds of tomatoes is a lot of tomatoes, especially during a weekday. So I think we only did about half of them. We're going to dice, and then we're going to put half of them in the freezer. We're going to make some sauce with them later on. But at this point, I just like to try to dice them in a little, little bitty, kind of consistent little cut, and Getting ready to get jarred up. Finally got all of the tomatoes diced up. We got our jars in the water. They're sanitized, they're warm. And we're just gonna take them out and we're gonna put them on a towel because our counter's pretty chilly. We don't want them to break. Then once we get all of the jars done or out, we'll fill them with the tomatoes and put them back in here. So the recipe talks about when you're doing tomatoes, or at least especially diced tomatoes, to put a tablespoon of lemon concentrate that you get at the store. So I'm gonna put a tablespoon in the bottom. I don't know if it really matters if that's on the bottom or the top, but we're gonna put it on the bottom. And I'm making quite a mess over here. All right, so then we're just gonna fill these up. And we're gonna leave about I think it's a ½ inch of headspace. We have them filled. I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt in each one. And I don't know if this is just one of those things in the recipe that's a must-have. It was in our recipe, so we're going to do that. But if you have a salt issue, I don't know if that's something that you can skip or not. You just have to follow your recipe. I just like to go in here and make sure all the air bubbles are out. And we've already tested to see if there's enough headroom in here. So what I mean by headroom is the amount of space from the top of the jar, the mouth of the jar, to the liquid inside. So we have this little measurement, a ½ inch is right here. So you just have to put it in there, and there's plenty. Of space for that. Then we just like to kind of tamp them down a little bit. Make sure all those bubbles are out. And I soaked a rag, have some vinegar on a rag, and you just want to make sure that the lids and the top of the, not the lids, but the top of the jars where the lids are going to go are nice and clean. So you have a good seal. Everything's nice and cleaned up. So we have our lids and our rings. So these are the little sure-tight lids. Over here in a hot pot of water that we get them, and we're using our little magnetic wand. And we're just putting them in place for now. And then once they're in place, we'll put a ring around it, tighten it up. And then all that you need to do is just finger tight it. You don't want to crank it too hard because you want that to kind of breathe inside there while it's cooking. Just finger tight. All right, so now we're going to put them into the pressure canner, and we're going to use the pressure canning method tonight. Tomatoes is one of those things where some people say you have to pressure can it. Some say that you can water bath it. We're going to do pressure canning here just to be safe. It's one of those in between the acid scale. Now I did put a little bit of vinegar in the water. We found out that that really does help with some of the the white deposits that you get on your jars, and they'll come out a lot cleaner. And then once I get all of these in, I'll put on the lid and then crank it down and wait for it to build up steam. Got all the cans in there. I'm just going to close this lid. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to wait until there's steam coming out of here. Once there's steam coming out of there continuously, then we can put this little device on top of there, and that helps us build pressure. And we're looking for 10 pounds of pressure. At that point, we just turn it way down and just let it cook for 15 minutes, and then turn it off and let it cool down. And then after the cooker is cooled down, then we can take off the jars and let them cool down, and we're done. So we let this get to 10 on this pressure gauge, and we kept it there for 15 minutes. Once it's there for 15 minutes, we took it off the heat, and now we're just letting it decrease in pressure. Once it gets down low enough, we can take off the lid, take out the cans, let them cool, and we can start the last batch, and then we'll be done for the night. The moment of truth is here. It's depressurized. This is always the scary part, to see if we messed up or not. It's still pretty warm. Oh, it's hot. Oh, looks pretty good. We will see. So these are starting to cool, and we'll see how they turn out. I don't know if we packed them tight enough or not, but we will, it's all experiment with us, and we're learning through this process. So we'll see what happens after they cool down, and we kind of shake them up, see how they look. But hey, they're tomatoes in a can, and that's less we have to buy later in the year. So we're super excited about them. Well guys, thanks for coming back, watching our video. If you haven't already, subscribed to the channel. There'll be a link down there. And if you haven't seen us on Facebook or Instagram, check us out. There'll be some links down in our description. And from our homestead to yours, have a blessed night, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.